Welcome to the 3 Knockdown Rule. Starring Mario Lopez and Steve Kim. Presented by Hustler Casino and UFC Fight Pass.
Ladies and gentlemen, the 3 Knockdown Rule presented by Hustler Casino is back in effect. I'm Steve Kim, joined by our co-host, Mario March Madness Lopez. 'Tis the season.
Salute to that. Thank you very much. Shout out to Smoking Tim Frazier and
Tino on the edits, the bout sheet for this week's show. Camaron, orale. Tszyu, big developments on his fight March 30th. News and notes, Ask Mario, and final flurries. But before we get started, we want to let you know that this podcast is sponsored by Hustler Casino, located just 15 minutes from downtown LA. During the last Monday of the month, if you play No Limit Hold'em, you can win a chance to play on the award-winning live streaming show, Hustler Casino Live. The lucky player will be staked $5,000 to play on the live stream. The winning player must stay through the duration of the whole stream. So stop by and play all your favorite games at Hustler Casino or check them out online at hustlercasino.com.
Round 1.
All right, let's get started. Round number 1 this past Saturday from the Cosmopolitan in Viva, Las Vegas on the Zone. It was a WBA and IBF lightweight eliminator, and it is clear he is now a contender. Lightweights in action. William Zepeda swarms Maxie Hughes in 4. Mario, it's not a matter of if, but when this guy gets a title shot at 135.
Congrats to Golden Boy. They've got themselves a little star on the rise on their hands. Look, we've been a fan of his for a while, and this was a time for him to really showcase what he's all about on the big stage against a real opponent, against a guy who fought Kambosos, former world champion, who a lot of people thought they went tooth and nail, and some people even gave him the nod. He went out there and blitzed him, Kim, and Hughes looked well prepared, and I tip my hat to him. He fought with a lot of bravery and valor, but the thing about Camarón is he's just an avalanche, and he's relentless, and he just keeps coming, and as the rounds go on, he just kicks it into another gear. Upstairs, downstairs. That body work was beautiful. Yep. You know, I thought it might be a little difficult for him, or it might take a second for him to figure it out because it was a southpaw. No, he didn't care. It was the same way. He fought the same way. The way he was going to the body and coming upstairs again, and with his solid jabs. And yes, he's going to eat a couple shots, but when you're that relentless and you come forward and you've got whiskers like he does, it doesn't really matter. For him to do that against the quality of opponent that he did, I was very impressed. He beats you into submission. If it was a UFC fight, they would be tapping out. It was a really impressive showing. And for him to call out Shakur at the end, I love that. Probably the most talented guy in the division. But whether it's Shakur, whether it's Tank, whether it's Kambosos, name that person at that weight class. I'll tell you what, everyone should be watching. And I think he's a real live dog in any of those fights. Yes, does he have maybe certain defensive deficiencies? So what? You can nitpick at anyone. He is a hell of a fighter. He is TV friendly. He is all action, and he's must-see TV when you know that he's fighting. And he seems to be always well prepared with a good attitude, and he's just so much fun to watch. He had that place on fire, and I was watching with my old man, and my first thing my dad asked me is, when's he going to fight again? Who's he going to fight? Because I want to go, mijo. And so he's hit me up already, so that's how I know this kid has now reached a certain level.
I love the broadcast. It said, well, Maxie Hughes is outworking Camarón. Mario, that lasted for about a minute.
Wait, exactly. If that, and I don't even agree with that statement.
And then the last minute of round 1, I said, yeah, that ended. And round 2, 3, 4, and 5, it was an absolute riptide. And you get drowned in leather by William Zepeda. Currently, he's 30-0, 26 knockouts, number 5 by Ring Magazine. Now, let's take a look at the landscape at 35. Now, boxing is a business, first and foremost. Golden Boy has some interesting options alongside the management of Zepeda. He's number 1 in the WBC, who is the champion, is Shakur Stevenson. Shakur was very vocal on Twitter saying, you know what, I'll pick that guy apart. And Bob Arum said on Sunday, give us a call. Have Oscar call me. Now, Shakur Stevenson has a date July 6th in Newark at the Prudential Center on ESPN. The number one guy, the champion in the WBA, is Tank Davis. Quite frankly, with the PBC involved, I think they have other plans. Rumor is he's going to fight Frank Martin sometime in the summer. Here's an interesting one. This was also an IBF eliminator, which means that eventually he could be the mandatory for the winner of Kambosos and Vasyl Lomachenko. I get the sense, Mario, that if Golden Boy had their druthers, they believe that Loma's going to win. Loma is a very big name, internationally known, highly, highly accomplished, but a little bit long in the tooth.
Is he? He looked pretty damn good to me this last time out. I don't know. Look, I don't think any of those fights are easy outs. I think he has a tough outing with Loma, Shakur, and Tank, but I also think he's very much a live dog. I would actually favor him over Kambosos.
Yeah, that's the one guy.
With all due respect with Kambosos, and I think he's a great little fighter, and I really like him. But outside of him, I think he would be the underdog, and I hesitate but not by much. I honestly think he's kind of peaking in his powers right now. Look, we've seen Shakur in his last fight, and it was a stinker, and I think he really went down in people's perception of him being the best lightweight. I'm not saying it took away from his skills and his talent, because he's incredibly talented. Still might be the most talented. However, that left a bad taste in people's mouth. How can you erase that? With a hell of a performance against a rising star like El Camaron with Zepeda. They are almost kind of tailor-made for each other.
Boxer versus puncher.
Exactly. That could be a lot of fun. Tank, which is a much more dangerous fight, and I'm just playing hypothetical here without the politics, much more dangerous fight, could be exciting forever how long it lasts.
When you look at Zepeda, the one flaw, he uses that high guard defense, and it's not necessarily a catch and counter. I spoke to a trainer that I trust that's a really big fan of Zepeda. He said the problem he's going to have at the upper echelon is that he does not have enough upper body bend and movement. And especially against Tank, when Tank makes contact, he hurts you. Also, as it relates to Shakur Stevenson, when he is a healthy two-handed fighter, he has that ability. He's not a hard hitter, but he hits you blind, and he leaves you very gun-shy. Against Shakur, Zepeda's going to have to realize, I'm going to pay a price to come inside and do what I do. He has to do what I call hitting through contact, much like Chavez did against Meldrick Taylor in the early stages before you get to where you want to be. Everyone else in the division, outside of maybe Loma, I would say that Zepeda's volume, activity, tenacity, and as the Brits say, the engine, I think is a little bit too much for everybody involved, but that's the one thing. Does he have enough of an evolution left in him to avoid punches and then the counter punch off of that? Because that's the one thing about him. He can be touched up with that style, Mario, and keep this in your back pocket. Put this on layaway like those corduroy Cavariccis at Chess King. The WBO title is vacant. But you know who fights for it May 18th in San Diego?
Navarrete.
Emmanuel Navarrete against Denis Baranchyk.
Oh, damn.
You want to talk about a Mexican war that could be right up there with maybe the modern-day version of Barrera Morales? Ooh. Could you imagine Navarrete Al Vaquero against Camaron?
I don't know if those two fighters ever leave the same after that sort of fight. That's interesting. Ooh. That's interesting because they're both sort of unorthodox, but to their benefit. And, the experience in Navarrete. Who do you favor in that fight? Ooh, that's tough.
I think Navarrete at the world-class level is more battle-tested.
He's got more experience, yeah.
I believe that Zepeda, in terms of his delivery system, is more technically sound and sharper. But again, when you take a look at a guy that's hittable, one thing about Navarrete, he's so unorthodox that whatever he does wrong is right for him. He has an ability just to consistently hit people over and over and over again. And then a young dark horse coming into the picture at 135 that I really like is a hard, clean puncher, Raymond Murataya, trained by Robert Garcia.
Yes,
and Robert has told me.
There's that kid. That's right.
And he's going to be fighting in Arizona in a couple weeks. And he told me, Steve, we know for a fact that we're going to probably have to be the mandatory. But Steve, if any of these champions wants us to challenge, I will not hesitate as the manager.
Wow.
So this is a very deep, loaded division.
Very division. Let's hope we see these fights.
Make the fights.
Let's make the fights. I don't think You lose either way in Camaron facing any of these fighters, to be honest.
Yeah.
Because even with Shakur, he's the type of fighter that even, God forbid, he were to not get the victory, you'd be like, damn, that guy put out an effort. Yeah. Oh my gosh, he's not going to stink up the joint. And I think he'll have moments where he won't hurt his stock too much. You're going to want to see him again. And versus Navarrete, who knows what's going to happen? And versus Loma or Kambosos, who knows what's going to happen?
And if I'm Golden Boy, I try to bring him back in June or July, and I start to market him and get out of the tents, get out of the ballrooms, go back to StubHub Center or wherever they're calling it, the War Grounds in Carson, and start building him as a draw. Because if he captures the attention of guys like your father, guess what? Yeah. Start making him into an attraction where
audience.
He builds value.
Exactly.
Because he is, as you said, must-see TV. Mario, on this undercard presented by Golden Boy, I want to say one thing about Floyd Schofield, talented young lightweight. He's got a lot of athleticism. He's got a lot of talent. But the term that I use, hanging curveball. The way he rushes in with his head over his front foot, he looks like a knockout waiting to happen. And every fight, I see a clash of heads. Look, I believe that they need to put on the brakes, slow down the pace. They are not ready for Shakur Stevenson or any of those lightweights we mentioned. He's promising. He's got a lot of potential. But I think that is the job of Golden Boy, to tell the father and everyone else, let's slow this down. And Mario, pro debut of a young man that we mentioned last week, Joel Iriarte. Boy, he seems to have a lot of physical talent.
I was really impressed with that kid. First of all, 6'1", fighting at 147, and he looked huge in there.
Yes.
And he's only 20 years old. Great amateur background and pedigree. He got his opponent out of there, I believe, in the second round, was it?
The second round,
Second
yes.
round. Look, I think this kid has a very, very high ceiling. Could one day end up even possibly at middleweight. Like I said, he's only 20, and he's 6'1".
I think that's a fait accompli.
Yeah,
there's no doubt about that.
It seems inevitable. And like I said, I think Golden Boy has got a pretty exciting young little stable right now.
And he fought an awkward southpaw that didn't read the script, who did not realize after the first punch you're supposed to lay down. He kept coming. He was a little bit elusive.
That was good.
Crowded him once in a while. My understanding is they're actually going to try to bring him back on the 30th out here at YouTube Theater. Beautiful. The management of Sheer Sports, they get it. They believe that they have a diamond, but they got to polish this up, and they believe activity matters. All right, we come back. We go to news and notes on the 3 Knockdown Rule, brought to you by Hustler Casino.
Catch it streaming live right on YouTube.
Welcome to the big leagues, kid.
$1.2 million.
And I'm losing in this fucking game. What the fuck?
There's a 400K flip. If I win by way, you get 10 grand.
Fucking straddle!
For my fans!
What? Twice! Wow! All in a call.
I'm not fucking leaving!
Raise it up.
And we're back on the 3 Knockdown Rule. Ladies and gentlemen, if you would like to get involved with the 3 Knockdown Rule and sponsor our fine program, we still have some slots available. Please reach out to us by emailing us at info@boxbid.io. Once again, that's info@boxbid.io. Boxbid.io is an online platform that is launching soon. It helps public figures and professionals in the world of boxing get sponsorships. We are proudly working with boxbid.io.
News and notes.
Okay, moving on. News and notes, a lot of things. Now, programming reminder, Mario, we're going to talk about this later. You are off to film a movie, so we're going to talk about a lot of this stuff, and we're going to have a couple of evergreen shows. So, again, if it looks like we are talking about things that are no longer happening, well, now you know why. But we know this. March 30th, the PBC and Prime relationship begins.
It's still going to be interesting.
Yeah, Viva Las Vegas. Tszyu was supposed to fight Keith one-time Thurman. Now it's no time, because Keith Thurman on Monday, March 18th, it was revealed had an MRI, had some sort of training injury. He has been ruled out, but what do they say on Broadway, Mario? The show must go on. Tszyu will now be facing Sebastian Fundora for the WBC interim title at 154. And now Brian Mendoza will be fighting Bohachuk. They're going to switch around opponents, and there's going to be a little mini tournament. I think the important thing for Tszyu, who made great strides last year fighting 3 times, keep the train moving. You did not want this fight postponed at all.
No. Well, first of all, before we get into him, man, Keith Thurman, is it time to call it a career? came after all this time because he went from one time to now no time, and when will we ever see him again time?
Mario, do you know he has one win since 2019?
Well, that's what I'm saying. I mean, at this point, should he ride off into the sunset?
I don't know how you would invest or market an event with him in mind. He's not reliable. What is the greatest ability? Availability. And I want to say this. This is why I say activity matters. A lot of fighters get hurt during these long training camps because they overtrain. And do you know why? Because they have to knock off a lot of ring rust and a lot of weight. And the wise philosopher from Asia, name is Kim Fucius, he say, the blade either gets sharpened or it gets dull. There is no in-between. Activity matters.
So in his case, the inactivity mattered.
He couldn't handle it. He could not handle the rigors of inactivity.
Oh, my gosh.
Look, when fighters used to fight 4 or 5 times a year, and their training camps, instead of being 10 to 12 weeks, was basically a month to maybe 6 weeks, they will tell you it was easier.
Yeah, of course.
It was much easier.
Well, you don't have to lose all that weight. You stay in relatively good shape. You're staying sharp, so there's not going to be as much sparring. You're exactly right. Hopefully, they start really paying attention to the show and realize that that's
I'm hearing
the
activity
case.
matters a lot on Twitter.
No,
I need
it's
to get
great.
that trademarked.
So, old-timer.
You are right. Yeah, you're right about that.
I love Tszyu's attitude. Show must go on. He filled in an opponent. A solid opponent at that. A different look and someone who he hasn't faced as far as dimension-wise in Sebastian Fundora. That ought to be an interesting little outing.
Yeah, and look, Sebastian Fundora, again, he hasn't fought in over a year. He got blown out by Brian Mendoza in Carson, California. But look, if you are Tim Tszyu and you have spent the last 6-7 weeks in Las Vegas, the last thing you wanted is just to say, okay, we're going to wait for Thurman. Forget that. Remember, go back to last year. At the beginning of the year, they thought they were going to fight Jermell Charlo for the junior middleweight titles. And as soon as Charlo got out of that fight, they said, okay, we're going to do our thing. They fought 3 times last year, and I thought the development was noticeable, how much better he got. In my view, he is the best 154-pounder on the planet until Terrence Crawford says, I'm moving up to junior middleweight. Keep this train rolling.
I agree, and I'd be excited to see that fight.
And also on that card, the Pitbull Isak Cruz takes on Rolly Romero.
By the way, I think that's the highlight right there. That's going to be a fun little fight.
It is. It's going to be interesting. Let's see if Isak can crowd Rolly. If he gets inside and breaches that airspace, Rolly to me is not what I'd call a clean technician.
No, he can crack though, so he's got to be careful.
Right. More news and notes here. As we are taping this, and again, this is very tenuous, Ryan Garcia, Devin Haney is still on for April 20th at the Barclays Center. Now, we'll actually be back before this fight happens on that fight week. Mario, I found it interesting that the New York State Athletic Commission raised their hand and said, oh, we need to do a full psychological mental evaluation of you. And Ryan, being the mental health advocate, said, if you do that, I'll sue. Okay. I am being told New York, for some reason, is now backing off. I am being told that there was a realization we may not have the right to actually do that. And that we just have to make sure that he's fine physically, and they'll do the neurological. And if he's cleared, he's cleared.
That's interesting. Is that because technically they're fighting in Jersey?
No, Barclays Center.
Oh, Barclays Center. I'm sorry.
Right.
You're right. They're fighting Barclays Center. You're right. They're right. So, but I'm curious why the about face. I'm curious as to why.
Probably a lawsuit. I mean, Ryan said it himself. You try to do this, I'm going to sue.
Okay, let me ask you a question then. Let's say they go through all this, the process of promoting the fight, spending a lot of money, and then he pulls out like a week left. Can they possibly then sue at that point?
I don't know if
they
they
know
can.
what I'm saying? Because like, hey, we tried a little bit earlier, but now we're out all this money. You need to at least reimburse us when we tried.
Now, do you mean pull out because he says mentally I'm not there?
For whatever reason.
Okay, now here's the thing. If it's an injury, it's an injury. You'll have to show proof. But if he pulls out and says, you know what, I'm having mental health, I'm just not there, I'm going to tell you this again. If a fighter, any fighter, says, I have to pull out of a fight because of mental health issues, I would treat that as like a failed drug test and say, okay, we care about you, but you're going to get treatment. For 1 full year, you must go to a facility, go to rehabilitation, and you just can't say in 2 months, okay, I'm back. Either we're going to take this seriously or we're not. I mean, do we really care about this, or is this just lip service? Again, he is the one who said that he is a mental health advocate. I didn't say it. You didn't say it. Tim Frazier didn't say it. He said it.
He said a lot of things, though, Kim. If you've been keeping up. He's been saying a lot of things.
He's going to run for president.
Bro. Everything from running for president to... He was saying he's making $50 million in this fight.
Oh, good for him.
And
that's good.
He was. I mean, somebody needs to take his phone away at least until April 20th. I've never seen. You know what? I've never seen anybody addicted to social media, but this might be the closest thing.
Yeah,
right?
I think a lot of people
attention,
are.
Or is it both?
Well, look, it is. This is a full-blown case of addiction, narcissism, and the dangers of relying on social media to this degree.
Because even if you're trying to justify it by saying he's promoting the fight, it's a bad look either way.
Right.
For him,
and here's
the sport, the promoters, all involved.
For all these people saying it's great for promotion because we're hearing about it a lot, which we are, ticket sales are very sluggish. They are.
Is that right? That's ironic.
Right, because remember, if you're not from New York...
Do you think that's because people might think that the fight might be called off?
Mario, let's say you're just a working stiff. Okay, you don't have a lot of disposable income. Let's say you buy a non-refundable flight. Let's say you take time off from work. You have to pull strings. You have to spend money that you really can't afford maybe, but you want to be there. And 5 days before the fight, something happens. You tell me, how would you feel?
Well, that's what I'm saying. Maybe that's why people are reluctant.
Right.
This could be backfiring in his, quote, promotion.
Right. So that is what it is, but as of right now, the fight is on.
We've seen a little training video, so maybe...
Yeah, he's in slow motion.
Yeah.
He's literally in slow motion. By the way, Derek James seems to really be enjoying himself.
Those memes and those videos are so funny. Hey, look, man, I really hope it comes to fruition. We've got how many weeks left?
About a month.
About a month of... We're close.
We're close.
We're close, so...
My prediction is this. The fight happens for a very simple reason. Ryan Garcia, like any one of us, he wants the money. He needs the money. This is what he does for a living. Bottom line, he needs the money. And here's another fight. Here's another dull blade. Remember when Josh Taylor was one of the best fighters in the world?
Yes, absolutely.
And then he decided to stop fighting. Well, his rematch with Jack Catterall, which has been backed up, postponed. Well, once again, it was scheduled for April 27th. Well, once again, Taylor suffered a training injury, and now this fight is going to happen May 25th.
Do we know how severe the injury is?
Well, it's severe enough to back the fight up a month. And I'm going to tell you this. If you look at Josh Taylor's run, he was on a great run throughout the tournament, culminating in a victory over Regis Prograis, right? Then he beats Jose Ramirez. I was at that fight, and we said, this is one of the 4 or 5 best fighters in the world. Then you know what he didn't do?
Fight.
Again, the blade, it either gets sharpened or it gets dulled. There is no maintaining. I don't believe in that. Also, June 15th, Huepa from Viva Puerto Rico, the IBF 140-pound champion, Subriel Matias, will be making his homecoming.
He's back.
Against Liam Paro. I'm not going to lie to you. Paro's a pretty good fighter. I was hoping Elvis Rodriguez.
I was hoping too.
Yeah, they thought they had the fight. They gave up every concession in terms of the money.
Did
the
Elvis
rematch.
not say?
No, they wanted it. They gave
Elvis wanted
They
it.
wanted that fight.
Ooh.
I know the terms. I spoke to the manager, and he is pretty Benji. He's pissed off.
Wow.
Oh,
Dominican and Puerto Rican, that would have been good.
Yeah, that would have been. But
and Elvis can crack himself.
yeah,
so okay.
I need a tall, lean southpaw.
I know.
So again, I don't know. But Paro's not bad though. Let's not make it sound like Paro can't fight, because he can. Moving on.
Review preview.
Okay. Fight preview this Saturday from Sheffield, England, on the Zone. Junior welterweight, the young riser Dalton Smith takes on the old pro Jose Sean Zepeda. Not so sure what Zepeda has. Maybe has a couple of left hands left in his back pocket. Okay, since we are going to be off in terms of live current shows for a couple of weeks, let's go through what's going on this upcoming week after that. March 29th, I'm going to be out there. This is a Friday night card, by the way, Mario. So check your local listings on ESPN from Glendale, Arizona. Junior lightweights in action. Oscar Valdez takes on Liam Wilson. And for the undisputed strawweight title, our good friend Sinicia Estrada takes on Yocasta Valle. And also on the card, Raymond Murataya. Mario, do you think Oscar Valdez's career as a world-class fighter is on the line? Not just because he lost his last fight, but he's a veteran now.
Right.
Can he afford consecutive losses?
Depending on how he looks. I really like Oscar Valdez, but I think if he wants to stay at a certain tier, then he's got to have a good showing. I think he's a smart kid. I think he's a good fighter. But look, this is a tough business, and he's been in with some really tough guys. We're going to see how much he has left that day. I'm hoping he's made a resurgence, and we see a sharp, well-prepared Oscar Valdez.
Yeah, and by the way, if you look, Liam Wilson last year was, to me, he got a raw deal against Navarrete. He hit him with the left hook. I think it was the third or fourth round. Now, people talk about long counts like Dempsey Tunney. This count, they've actually put it on a clock. It was 29 seconds.
That's long.
That's pretty. That's a long count. There's a long count.
Again, to my point, another tough outing. He's got a real tough outing in front of him.
And I think there's a lot on the line because this is a junior lightweight bout. And look, Joe Cordina, Lamont Roach, they're on the other sides of the street. I think Lamont Roach has a mandatory defense that is due. But the winner of this fight could be matched up with WBC 130-pound champion Oshaki Foster. So there's some high stakes on the line here. I'm going to be at this show. Also,
Look at you going out to the desert.
The following Saturday from the YouTube Theater in Los Angeles, Zurde Ramírez, I think, is going to become trying to become the first Mexican cruiserweight champion against Arsen Goulamirian.
He was killing himself making that weight. I don't know how he.
How did he even make 168? Forget 75.
I don't know.
I mean,
that's crazy. And then, would he come in like 14 pounds heavy at that one weight?
Yeah, give or take a couple of pounds.
That was wild. I like Zorde though. I always feel like my guy, like he's so chill mode. And he's such a laid-back, easygoing guy. I want to give him an injection of energy to kind of get going. But I think it bodes well for his style. Maybe he feels more comfortable at this weight. He feels a little bit stronger. He's not killing himself. He'll have a little bit more of a spark. But obviously, I'm pulling for him. Train at his gym here at Brick House Boxing.
The cleanest gym in all of America.
I know. That's what my wife said. She doesn't want to step a foot in Wild Card. She goes, that place smells. When I say that with respect, I love Wild Card. She's fine going into Brick House.
Yeah, the Goulamirian is a rough, tough, physical guy. He's the natural cruiserweight.
Dude, he's
Keep
big and
that
strong.
in mind.
I know. That's a tough fight.
Moving on to the Ask Mario segment of this program from Hamed Boxing. How do you think Boots Ennis can revitalize his career since he has promotional issues and long-term bouts of inactivity? Should Boots dump his IBF belt and move up to 154 to challenge Bud, Ortiz, Charlo, Tszyu, Thurman, winner, etc.? Here's the thing. Boots Ennis has been caught up in the business. I don't think that he should dump any belts. And he told us during the summer before his last bout with Roy Maivia, look, I want to unify a little bit. My understanding is he's going to fight on the Canelo card on May 4th against Cody Crowley, his IBF mandatory.
I don't think he should abandon his belts either. And if he's able to fight, that's a great platform and showcase for him right there. And if he's able to come back, look sharp, have an impressive showing, he can get that momentum back.
Yeah, but I do wonder. He's been at 47 a long time, and he's a big welterweight.
Does he struggle to make it?
I think they all kind of do. But when you have 30 hours to rehydrate, I think it's funny now when people say, boy, he looked dried out at the weigh-in. Yeah, well, great thing he's got 30 hours to replenish. I'm not so sure anyone's ever dried out anymore like they used to be.
I know, but Kim, still, the next day, you would think, you gain all that weight back, but it's not like you get all your energy and strength back either. I always told you, anyone who's able to do it, I tip my hat off to him because I've had to cut weight because of wrestling growing up the whole time. You're still drained, man. So it's all fair. Since if the playing field is even, then it's fair at the end of the day. It all sort of evens out.
Right, and remember
when, I'm sorry to cut you off, but remember when there's certain fighters, remember when, I don't know why Victor Ortiz's name came to mind, but when he was at 40 killing himself, but he went to 47, he looked like a beast, a monster initially, before he kind of went off the rails. He looked like, look at how much just even that 7 pounds made right there.
And keep this in mind, the IBF actually has a morning rehydration clause. Remember that. It's the one sanctioning body that has that.
I like that.
And the unfortunate thing is, Geron told us back in July, look, I win this fight, I'm going to come back and have 3 fights in 2023. It didn't happen. And it looks like his first fight in 2024 is not going to happen till May. So I'm not so sure he's going to get any more than 2 fights in this current year.
Yeah.
So it is what it is. Here's one from Clay Stevenson. Hey, Mario. It looks like Shakur will be a free agent after this summer. You think your boy Oscar may put in a bid for Kerr? I think Stevenson is gettable now with all things considered with him.
I think Shakur is very confident in his abilities and that he feels he would do really well against
Anybody.
Well, anybody. But even like a Zepeda, even as tough of a fight as may be, I think he, in his mind, is like, he's tailor-made for me. He's going to come right at me. I'm going to be able to sharpshoot this guy. And so I don't know what the relationship is with Top Rank right now, where they're at, because I know it fluctuates. But for some reason, he's not happy. That I think that could be a star-making fight for even to really repolish the star.
Well, step one, I'm glad he came out of retirement. Yeah. The game of boxing was going to have a hard time moving on without Shakur Stevenson. My understanding is this: the offer that they gave him, the multi-fight extension, it would have a $3 million minimum. Now, Mario, that's the minimum. That's the starting point. I'm not so sure that's on the table. And so we're going to find out if Shakur goes into the free agent market. Is it a seller's or buyer's market? That we do not know. Oh, my God, Mario, you trying to get me drunk.
I'm on medicine, fool. I'm going to take advantage of you later.
And you know what? You don't see me turning it down either. Here's one from the only Sanch. Ask Devato with the best Mexican Jerry curl in the 80s.
Hey, it's only Sanch.
Does Munguia cross over as the face of Mexican boxing if he beats Canelo? What is his popularity ceiling?
He posted a pic today. My man looks in shape.
Is he at wild card yet?
He's at wild card.
Oh, okay.
He looks in shape. I'll show you the picture right now. He looks big at that weight class. Yes is the answer. If he were to beat Canelo, you beat the man.
He is the Mexican star. No doubt about it.
And that's it. Because he's already a very likable guy. He's a humble guy. He's exactly how the Mexican people like him. Humble, well-spoken, fights with balls.
Very relatable.
Aggressive.
A little bit more relatable than Canelo, let's be honest.
He's like the every's man. He's from Tijuana. He's like the everyday guy, blue collar. So, yes, I think he beats him, and that's just, he's going to just shoot up.
I will make a statement right now. If Freddie Roach can lead and coordinate a Jaime Munguia victory somehow, some way, and slay the giant, this will go right up there with this Pacquiao-De La Hoya victory. I'll never forget before that fight when people were accusing Bob Arum of putting the life of Manny Pacquiao in. I mean, Filipino government, they wanted to bring up Bob and Freddie up for like a hearing. Because how could you do this to our national? Yeah. There was no Mabuhay there.
Yeah.
I remember reading those stories.
I remember.
And Freddie said, Steve, I know a few things because I'm telling you, I have a feeling, and more than a feeling, I know.
I thought it was a showcase for Oscar because you remember at the time, they didn't want him to face Antonio Margarito. Antonio Margarito was coming on, and where in retrospect, it probably would have been a lot safer to face Antonio Margarito.
But looking at it, Oscar had no business going back down in weight. He did the worst tactical mistake. And I thought when De La Hoya fought Steve Forbes on the soccer field at StubHub, when you were there, it was noticeable he had lost an inch off the fastball. I remember thinking to myself, because I was actually on record, I'm one of 2 or 3 panelists out of 30 people, I said Pacquiao's going to win that fight. Because I could just see the quickness. I actually think that this.
I'm gonna have to do the research on that.
Ask Doug Fisher. He has those issues. I don't know about By the way, Barrera Hamed, I was one of 2 or 3 out of 30.
I was on that one too. But
no, you're not on the record. I'm gonna have to investigate
that was just easy because I just went with the Mexican guy, so that was easy to go.
Take Mario's. Oh yeah, you're right. You are super Mexican. So hey, how about Barrera against Tyson Prime?
No,
He's Mexican. So
I love me some Tyson.
I would say beating this version of Canelo with Munguia might be a greater achievement as a trainer than it is Pacquiao beating that version of the Golden Boy who never fought again. Agree or disagree?
Look, I don't disagree. I think he's a live dog in this.
Live? You're saying live.
And I'm only saying that because, bro, at some point, Father Time's got to catch up with Canelo. And he has fought at such a high level for such a long time. What are we talking about? 60-something fights, right?
Yes.
And he's dealt with a lot of injuries. He's been wealthy for a long time, and I love me some Canelo. But we've got a young, big, strong kid here. Might not necessarily beat him up, but could steal rounds with his activity. That's all I'm saying. He's got to fight a great, great fight. I don't know. He's obviously going to be the underdog. And should be. But I think he's a live dog in that with the activity, the youth, versus the comfortable state that Canelo is in at the moment. You never know.
I believe, and we'll get more into this tactically as the fight gets closer. There are times when I believe Munguia is going to have to actually back off and make less more. It's not just about throwing a lot of punches.
Yeah.
It's also at times killing the clock, making Canelo move his feet.
Right.
So there's going to be some tactical stuff that has to happen, but that is the job of Freddie to kind of get him to understand that.
Yeah.
Here's one
that's
from
pretty good.
Ivan with WrestleMania XL right around the corner. Has Mario been to any of them, and what is your all-time favorite wrestler?
We've been to the last 4 WrestleManias.
Had good seats too,
4
by the
or
way.
5. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's, we've talked about wrestling a lot. We loved it as a kid. And then I took about a 25, 30-year hiatus. Then I had my own kids, and they started kind of getting into it. They've got next level, though, in these productions. Crazy
Yeah.
what they do now. One of my favorite picks is when I have Hulk Hogan with my kids.
That was your guy, though. That was your guy.
That was my guy. I love the Hulk. Come on. Who didn't love the Hulk? That was our era.
I didn't.
Why didn't you love the Hulk? Because you like Rowdy Piper.
Hulk is such a yo-yo. And remember, Rock and Wrestling? That was Roddy Piper's line.
Yeah, but I loved them all. I love that whole era. I loved them
like
all.
Hulk.
Oh, shut up.
I'm a
I
Piper
love
guy.
Hulk. I like Piper, too. And I like Ric Flair. It's theater. You can like them all.
No.
It's not
No.
like USC, UCLA.
No,
you can like them.
take sides.
You're crazy.
Piper's
I like
pick, man.
I like Dusty Rhodes and I like Ric Flair. I like both of them, and they were mortal enemies. How can you not? What are you talking about? You
take
can
a
like
side,
Rowdy
man.
Road.
See, you have no conviction. You have no
you're
character.
crazy. This is theater. It's not real sports. I say that with respect.
Yeah, you said that, not me.
But
Yeah.
listen, no, these guys have the greatest respect. Their improvisational skills, their athletic ability, the way they keep themselves in shape, they know I'm a big fan. But I have a picture of Hulk doing the double biceps, and then my kids are in the Rowdy Piper shirts, and I'm in an Andre Giant one. Yeah, the WWE ice creams were the best right there.
Those were good.
Those are, but no, that whole era, man. Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, Jimmy Superfly Snuka, even on the NWA with Dusty Rhodes and Nature Boy Ric Flair, who I dressed up as Halloween one time. Jake the Snake Roberts. I mean, that whole era was the best.
I've been to one WrestleMania. It was WrestleMania 2. It was a triple header from 3 different sites.
Was that when King Kong Bundy?
It was in Chicago.
Oh, that's right.
And then it was in Long Island.
And they had it in L.A., right?
Our main event was a steel cage match between King Kong
Bundy right.
and Hulk Hogan. And
Right.
when Hulk Hogan came out, I have never seen people react like this. And of course, I was rooting for Bundy because I keep it real. My loyalties cannot be bought or sold. And then I remember in Long Island, the main event was a boxing match between Roddy Piper and Mr. T.
Oh, God, I don't remember all
and
this.
I remember some of the
Mr. T.
vignettes where Roddy Piper would go to Philadelphia because Mr. T was supposedly trained by Joe Frazier. And you got to watch some of these videos. The jokes that Piper tells Frazier about,
You don't remember Piper's Pit?
I've seen every single one of them. I binge watch those things. I binge watch.
Piper's Pit was the best.
Remember Boxing Bob Orton with old AC
dude.
Baby?
He
And
was
then
the
in
best.
Chicago.
Mean Gene Okerlund?
Mean Gene. How he kept a straight face.
Yeah.
But, so in Chicago, because the 85 Bears were incredibly popular, the main event or the feature bout in Chicago, or the Rosemont Horizon, they called it, was a big battle royale, and William Perry, Jimbo Covert,
Yes.
Too Tall Jones, and a bunch of wrestlers
I
were
love
there.
the battle royales.
And
Those were awesome.
When it came down to it, what happened was they had big screens set up around the ring.
Yeah.
So we got to watch all the other fights. It took 20 minutes to get the other screens off, and then it was time for Hogan Bundy. Great time. Went with my baseball team at Lomerced Intermediate.
Dude, you went with the team. It was awesome.
Shout out to the Trojans. Here's one from Ryan Longer. Hey, when did you and Kim first meet Frank Stallone? Any idea when he will be back on the show? Well, Frank has an open invite. Honestly.
I love me some Frank Stallone. Met him at Wildcard Boxing Club.
Yes.
He was out there training.
Met him about 15, 16, 17 years ago. I had no idea who he was. He was
He looks just like his brother. How can you not know who he was? He looks just like Sylvester.
Didn't have my glasses or contact lenses on. But I know one thing. Like, he's talking to Freddie about boxing, and I'm talking like Packy McFarlane, Ad Walgas. I'm like, who is this guy? And it was funny. He's one of those guys that every fighter from the 20s and 30s would beat anyone from the 90s, and Freddie's just being driven nuts. And then he's a friendly, but I can say this about Frank. He is a very, very friendly guy.
Great guy.
Very relatable.
Really like him.
And if you know boxing, he'll talk to you about it. He's very passionate about the sport. And yes, we'll absolutely bring him back in.
Final Flurries.
All right, moving on to Final Flurries. Mario, you know, I like to gamble once in a while. I put a dollar or a nickel on a couple of blackjack, or really pie gal with me.
Wow.
Man, but I try to
Stupid.
watch what I lose. Can't say the same for old Bruno Mars. What's going on there?
Well, it was reported that Bruno
boy.
Mars lost $50 million, or he owes, I should say, Not in one sitting, $50 million. He owes $50 million to MGM Grand.
Oh, boy.
You take out markers. Markers are
Lines of credit, right?
a line of credit. Exactly. And usually, even for the whales, the markers are like $10 million for even the big gamblers. I don't know. It's because he has a residency there, and they can just have him continue to perform for them. But somehow, I was told that he owed $30 million as of 2 years, and then it jumped up another 20. Dude, he's like old, and I've always loved Bruno Mars. I think he's incredibly talented. He's like the male Beyonce as far as an entertainer and stuff. He's awesome. If you ever seen him perform,
Don't you mean Bruno Mush?
Bruno Mush. Oh, what the thing? Oh, cold as ice.
Yeah, I said it.
Cold as ice. You ever get to see a chance to perform, dude? He is awesome. I want to check him out.
That
His
is no
residency
longer
there.
a residency. That is now a life sentence. He's working that off.
And he's just got, I don't know if it's just the licensing, but he's got a little club now, a lounge, if you will, there at MGM, which is supposed to be a lot of fun. He pops in and performs and stuff. But even before that, Kim, when he was just Pete Hernandez, because he's Puerto Rican Filipino but lives in Hawaii, he used to gamble all the time at Commerce Casino. And when he was just Pete Hernandez, like they'd see him all the time.
Pacquiao loved that place.
Pacquiao loved that place.
Man, he loved that place.
And well, so did Pete, aka Bruno. So he's been playing for a while now. But dude, he's old school. He's had battles with Coke. He owes the casino's money. He's doing
$50 million.
Dude, $50 million. I don't care how much money you have. $50 million. He supposedly makes like $1 million a performance, which is incredibly
Okay, so
impressive.
he better go weekly next year.
Bro. But by the time you pay everyone, let's say you clear $500,000. Fine, that's still an incredible amount of money. Well, that's what I'm saying. Let's say you even clear you end up at $500,000. He's still got that's a
couple years. That's a couple years of work.
It's got to be. So he better take care of his voice. He better not be hoarse any nights. He better start writing some material, maybe drop an album, and hit up that residency.
And just play Old Maid for candy.
Old Maid. Damn, I haven't heard that.
Play
in a
for like
long
Jolly
time.
Ranchers.
Or Uno or something.
I'll raise you a cherry and a grape.
Dang, dude. Well, that's the thing. Real gamblers, once they start playing,
They
But I'm
can't
pulling
stop.
for Bruno. I like Bruno.
Yeah. Mario, you are now part of bare knuckle boxing?
Yeah, so
I like
making
that.
an official announcement right here. I am now involved in bare knuckle fighting. Hey, that's exactly it. This is old school. It's
what
brutal.
we do,
It's hardcore. They have a lot of actual real fighters, ex-boxers, and MMA fighters. And it's a fast-growing sport. We're going to have an event this next month in Anaheim. I'm doing the press conference on Wednesday. You're going to have to come with me as a guest. I think you'll like it. We have to get you in there. But not to fight, but just to...
Yeah, don't get me in there. They don't want mismatches.
But
Jeez.
it's going to be... this Wednesday, it's going to be at the Peacock Theater. It's open to public if you want to come check it out. But it's exciting. If you haven't seen it, it's exciting. And they're over quick because obviously there's not a lot of cushion. So you connect right away, it's over quick. But it can get pretty brutal and talk about
When we
old
say
school.
fisticuffs, we mean fist.
We mean fisticuffs. So bare knuckle. There we go.
Mario, you are going to Chicago?
I'm going to be in Chicago for about 3.5 weeks. Chicago and the surrounding areas. Going to do a holiday film out there. And which, by the way, it was snowing yesterday. Can you believe it's still cold?
Well, it is Chicago.
I know, but we're going to be in spring already.
And then the next day it might be 80, and then
I
go
know.
back to blizzard again. That's
Isn't
the way
that wild?
it is.
No,
It
that's
is.
how it is out there. But I love the people of Chicago. They're really, really cool out there. It's the Midwest. And so, so I'll be out there. But we're going to do a couple shows, keep people on their feet, and I'll come back ready to go.
Yeah, so programming reminder, this show will be current. We are going to be taping a couple of evergreen shows to make, because that's how much we care about our audience.
Yeah, we do.
We know you can't go on without us. We know your lives are not the same. We know it's not fulfilling, but that's what, the 3 knockdown rule cares. At least I do, okay? So we will be doing that. Mario,
I'm careful.
Yeah, okay, a little bit. Me and Tim Frazier have a documentary programming recommendation on HBO Max.
Okay.
Mike Wallace is here. The old guy, the old newsman from CBS, famous for 60 Minutes.
Is he still alive?
No. But his son is.
Okay.
What
Wallace,
what a ball buster this guy was.
He's old school.
I mean, no, but a guy like him would not exist today.
I was going to say, you probably couldn't carry yourself the way he does these days.
Well,
right?
I mean, look, he did a show called Mike Wallace Night Watch, and the way they had it lighted, dark room with just lights on the two guys, it was like a deposition or interrogation.
Like an interrogation, yeah.
And he asked this one mob guy way back in the 50s, so how many guys have you killed? And I'm thinking, oh my God, and the fact that he got away with it, and then the stuff he did on 60 Minutes. But I really enjoyed it because I'm not a big 60 Minutes watcher. I've watched all their sports segments. You watch them on YouTube. Showtime had 60 Minutes Sports.
It's a good show.
I think you'll actually find it fascinating how good it was.
Check it out. Okay.
And by the way, Shogun keeps going good.
It keeps going good. You don't watch it? Do you watch Curb Your Enthusiasm or you don't?
Well, I did for the first half.
Dude, it's the last season.
I know.
It's so funny. This last one was so funny. You didn't see the one with the...
I haven't watched the last 6, 7 seasons.
You haven't watched... Dude,
No.
that show's been consistently funny.
Right.
And this season, it's the last one, so I'm giving it a good watch.
And so we will be back, I believe, the week before for a current show, week of April 20th. So we will be able to preview, knock on wood,
that's right.
Ryan Garcia,
Yeah.
Devin Haney. And I'll go on record right now. I think the fight actually happens. And I'll tell you why. I don't think Golden Boy legally can just pull the fight. Because now you're going to have an issue with Ryan Garcia saying, well, wait a minute, you're not making me make a living.
I don't think people are concerned about Golden Boy. I think they're more concerned about Ryan himself.
I actually think most people that have made travel plans, they care more about their own airline flights, their hotel reservations. Here's the thing. Let's go, this is a hypothetical. I hope it's not true. If Ryan does pull out, do you think with the public that his name is mud?
Yes. Especially the way he's been carrying himself. I do. I think it's you'd have to take a long hiatus, sabbatical if he does plan on coming back. Otherwise, you're a young kid, you made some money, and you better start looking into other endeavors.
I would just have one question for Ryan Garcia. Okay, so you say you know who killed Tupac. Who killed Biggie? Does he have that one?
Who killed JFK?
Who killed JFK? Right. What was it really? Was it a third bullet in the grassy knoll? I mean, he's got all the answers, man.
Dude, I don't even know what to say. I'm just shaking my head.
All right, so we will continue to be back. We're going to try our best to keep you guys updated as best as possible. We want to thank everyone that made this show possible. On behalf of Mario Lopez, Smoke and Tim Frazier, and Tino, this has been the 3 Knockdown Rule brought to you by the Hustler Casino.